Master the silence. Lao Tzu's rule for unshakable power. They say silence is empty, that silence is nothing. But Lao Tzu, the ancient sage of the Tao, would tell you the opposite. Silence is not nothing. It is the source of everything. Words come and go like ripples on the surface of a pond. But silence is the water itself. Without it, there would be no sound at all. Think about how much of your life is filled with noise. The constant notifications on your phone, the endless chatter in meetings, the pressure to always respond, always react, always keep talking so you won't seem weak or disinterested or forgotten. Modern life worships noise. But what if Lao Tzu was right? What if the real power lies not in speaking more, but in speaking less? What if silence itself is the ultimate form of strength? Lao Tzu once wrote, "He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know." At first, it sounds paradoxical. How can wisdom exist without words? How can a person gain influence, lead, or even survive without making themselves heard? Yet, when you look closely, you realize this is not a rejection of speech. It's a reminder of its limits. Words are like arrows. Once released, you cannot take them back. Silence, on the other hand, is infinite. It cannot be misquoted, misinterpreted, or used against you. Now, think about your own life. How often have you spoken too soon, only to regret it later? Maybe you gave away too much in a negotiation. Maybe you confessed your plans to someone who quietly used them against you. Or maybe you just filled an awkward silence with nervous chatter, and in doing so, exposed what you really felt. If you've ever experienced this, then you already know. Silence could have been the stronger move. But silence is not passive. It's not about sitting back and doing nothing. The art of silence, according to Lao Tzu, is active. It's about creating space, a space where others reveal themselves, where situations unfold naturally, where the noise of the world clears and the truth emerges on its own. Silence is a weapon, a shield, and a source of clarity all at once. The most powerful leaders in history understood this instinctively. The generals who let their enemies underestimate them, speaking only at the right moment. The negotiators who sat quietly while the other side kept talking, revealing more than they ever intended. Even in modern times, think of the people you meet who command a room without raising their voice. They do not compete to be heard. They let silence do the heavy lifting. But here is the challenge. Silence is uncomfortable. Most people cannot bear it. That's why silence is powerful. When you remain silent, others rush to fill the gap. They reveal their doubts, their desires, their weaknesses, while you remain grounded. Silence makes them restless, but it makes you strong. Lao Tzu understood this thousands of years ago, and it remains just as true in the age of social media, 24/7 news, and endless noise. And this is what you will learn in this video. Not how to escape from silence, but how to use it. You will learn why silence is more persuasive than words, how silence protects you from manipulation, how silence makes people lean toward you instead of away from you, and how mastering silence in your everyday conversations, your negotiations, even your relationships, can transform your presence entirely. But first, let me ask you this. What is silence for you? Is it awkwardness? Is it emptiness? Or is it possibility? Imagine entering a tense room where everyone is waiting for someone to speak first. The one who stays silent, who waits the longest, holds the invisible power. Or picture a heated argument where the strongest move is not to shout louder, but to fall completely silent and let the other person exhaust themselves into weakness. Silence disarms. Silence provokes. Silence forces others to reveal who they truly are. This is why Lao Tzu said, "Silence is a source of great strength." Because when you stop wasting words, you start conserving energy. When you stop explaining, you start observing. And when you stop rushing to fill the silence, you begin to control the rhythm of every interaction. In the minutes ahead, we will break down how to practice the art of silence in today's world. How to use it in your career. How to use it in negotiation. How to use it in conflict, in love, and even in solitude. Because silence is not just about how you deal with others. It is also about how you deal with yourself. Most of us are terrified of silence because it forces us to face what's inside. The thoughts we've been avoiding, the fears we've been covering with distraction. But Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching reminds us that silence is not an enemy to be feared, but a teacher to be embraced. It is in silence that clarity arises. It is in silence that you reconnect with the flow of life itself. So, stay with me. Because by the end of this, you will see silence not as emptiness, but as power. You will see it as one of the rarest, most overlooked tools of influence you can wield in the modern world. You will learn how silence can make people listen more closely to your words when you do speak. How it can reveal truth without you asking. How it can turn conflict into resolution. And most importantly, you will learn how to apply Lao Tzu's wisdom in your own life. Not as abstract philosophy, but as a practical strategy. A way to live, to speak less, and to achieve more. Because in the end, silence does not mean the absence of communication. It means the presence of wisdom. Subscribe now to keep learning the ancient rules that make you unshakable. Lao Tzu once wrote, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." At first, this seems contradictory. Isn't speech the vehicle of wisdom? Don't we share knowledge precisely by putting it into words? But Lao Tzu wasn't condemning language. He was revealing a deeper truth. When you give everything away with words, you surrender your leverage. Think about a chess master. The beginner explains every move, telegraphing intentions, eager to justify decisions. The master, however, says nothing. His silence leaves opponents guessing. Every piece moved without explanation builds tension. That tension, the not knowing, is where his power lies. The same applies in life. The more you rush to explain yourself, the more predictable you become. The more predictable you become, the easier it is for others to anticipate, control, or dismiss you. Silence is not absence. Silence is strategy. Consider the leader who speaks rarely. In the ancient Chinese courts, such figures were often treated as oracles. Because they seldom spoke, people leaned forward when they finally did. The room grew quiet. Their words carried weight, not because the content was extraordinary, but because their silence had primed everyone to value each syllable like treasure. The less you say, the more your words are worth. Contrast this with someone who talks endlessly. The politician who answers every question, the manager who fills every pause with chatter, the friend who cannot stop justifying himself. Their voice becomes background noise. No matter how intelligent, they cheapen their own currency. Speech, given too freely, loses all value. Silence creates mystery. Mystery is influence, and influence is power. A person who leaves things unsaid keeps others in a state of curiosity, even uncertainty. This uncertainty works in your favor. It forces others to fill the gaps themselves, and people almost always fill those gaps with exaggerations that elevate you. In silence, you become larger than life. Take Napoleon. In his war councils, he often listened more than he spoke. Generals would present plans, argue, grow agitated. Napoleon stayed still, quiet, almost indifferent. Only after absorbing everything would he deliver a short sentence, decisive and final. His silence wasn't weakness, it was dominance. He let others reveal themselves, while he kept his cards hidden until the moment mattered. Or consider a modern setting. In negotiations, silence is a weapon. A skilled negotiator who pauses instead of filling the void puts pressure on the other side. The silence makes them uneasy, and in that discomfort, they reveal concessions. Silence bends the conversation without you having to push. There's also a psychological dimension. Silence disrupts patterns. In most social interactions, people expect immediate feedback, a reply, a reaction, reassurance. When you don't provide it, you break the script. Suddenly, the other person is left scrambling. What are they thinking? Did I say the wrong thing? Do they agree or disagree? That uncertainty shifts the balance of power to you. Lao Tzu knew this long before modern psychology. By saying, "Those who know do not speak," he was teaching restraint. True wisdom doesn't seek validation. It doesn't need to announce itself. The oak tree doesn't brag about its roots. The river doesn't explain its flow. They simply are. And their presence commands respect. Imagine a workplace scenario. A manager criticizes you in front of others. The reflex is to defend yourself instantly, to fill the air with explanations. That's speech born of insecurity. A more powerful move is to pause, breathe, let silence stretch. The effect? The room tilts in your direction. The critic's words hang awkwardly, echoing against your silence. People sense composure, not weakness. Later, when you do respond, briefly, calmly, your words cut sharper because they are rare. Or think about relationships. When someone tries to provoke you, "Why are you always like this?" The easy trap is to launch into defensive speech. You explain, justify, argue. But what happens if instead you respond with silence? Or with a measured pause followed by a simple, "Interesting that you say that." You don't give them the chaos they're fishing for. Instead, you create mystery. That mystery disarms them, often leaving them to stumble over their own accusations. Wrong responses reveal your powerlessness. Explaining too much, speaking out of nervousness, or reacting emotionally. These are the marks of someone not in control. The right response is fewer words, more pauses, and an awareness that silence is a message in itself. The paradox Lao Tzu reveals is that silence is not empty. Silence is full. It is full of possibility, full of tension, full of unseen force. It is a container others cannot easily measure. This is why those who truly know don't rush to speak. They understand that power is not in what you reveal, but in what you choose to withhold. And here lies the lesson. When you speak less, you gain more. More attention, more influence, more weight behind your words. You cultivate the aura of someone who knows, even if you don't. Silence is not about deception. It is about discipline. It is about recognizing that words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. But silence, maintained wisely, can never be used against you. In the end, Lao Tzu was not glorifying muteness. He was guiding us toward mastery. Mastery of self, mastery of timing, mastery of the delicate balance between saying enough and saying too much. A leader who speaks rarely and wisely becomes unforgettable. A friend who listens deeply becomes invaluable. And a person who embraces silence as strategy walks through the world with an aura of quiet power. This is Lao Tzu's ancient lesson, one as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. If this lesson is sharpening your silence, leave a like. It helps spread Lao Tzu's wisdom. Silence is not the absence of words. It is the presence of control. In a world addicted to noise, silence has become one of the rarest and most powerful currencies you can hold. Lao Tzu's wisdom: those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know, is not about staying mute forever. It is about learning when silence advances your position and when words betray it. Let's take that ancient principle and apply it to the battlefield of modern life. Consider negotiations. Picture yourself in a business meeting. The other side makes an offer. The ordinary person rushes to fill the air. They explain, they justify, they blurt out their needs. This is the wrong move. Words expose your hand. They reveal desperation. Now imagine instead that you stay silent. You let the offer hang in the air. Seconds stretch into eternity. The other side begins to second-guess themselves. Did we go too low? Did we insult him? In their discomfort, they start to speak again. And with every extra word they spill, they reveal their true limits. That is silence as a weapon. There is a simple test here. If they say, "This is our final offer," and you quickly reply, "I understand, but maybe we can adjust terms slightly," you lose leverage. You've shown that you fear losing the deal. But if you simply nod, wait, and let them sit in their own words, they will often crack first. That pause forces them into the prison of their own uncertainty. The effect? They start negotiating with themselves. They offer better terms without you lifting a finger. Silence makes them work for you. Now let's bring this into personal relationships. Think of an argument with a partner, friend, or even a colleague. Most people, when accused or criticized, explode with defenses. That's not fair. You don't understand. Here's why I did it. This is the wrong response. Defensiveness adds fuel to the fire. It validates the attack by engaging with it. Instead, you hold silence. You allow the storm of their words to crash and fade. When you finally choose to speak, your voice cuts through like lightning. Short, controlled, undeniable. Something as simple as, "I hear you," or, "Are you finished?" The silence before those words forces the other person to wrestle with their own emotions. They begin to question themselves. They feel the imbalance. Suddenly, you are the calm in the chaos. The effect? Respect, authority, influence. In leadership, silence is equally potent. Think of great commanders or CEOs. The leader who constantly talks, explaining every decision, pleading for agreement, loses authority. Their people begin to sense weakness. Contrast this with the leader who speaks little. He listens, he observes, he waits. Then, when he finally speaks, the room goes still. His words land with weight because they are rare. It is the same principle as rarity in economics. Scarcity drives value. A gem is prized because it is scarce. Words are no different. If you flood the market with words, they lose value. If you ration them, each one becomes priceless. Here's a simple workplace scenario. Your team debates endlessly on a problem. People are arguing, emotions are high. The wrong response as a leader is to jump in with a long lecture, trying to solve everything with sheer volume. The right move is to listen silently. Let them exhaust themselves. Then, when the moment is right, you offer one clear direction. We'll test both approaches this week and measure results. That single sentence, sharpened by silence, ends the noise. Your silence gave your words weight. But silence isn't just about power plays. It's also about perception. When you're silent, people project their own ideas onto you. They imagine you are wiser, deeper, more mysterious than you may actually be. It's the same effect magicians use. The illusion rests not in what they show, but in what they withhold. This is why some of the most influential figures in history, from Bismarck to Steve Jobs, used silence like armor. Jobs was known for his long, silent stares in meetings. People would panic under that gaze, rushing to fill the air. By saying nothing, he forced them to reveal themselves. Now, let's talk about a technique I call the strategic pause. This is silence sharpened into a blade. When someone asks you a difficult question, don't answer immediately. Most people rush to fill the gap. Instead, pause. Let the silence hang. Think. Count 3 seconds, maybe 5. This does 2 things. First, it shows composure. You are not rattled. Second, it makes your eventual answer sound more considered, more intelligent, more deliberate. Compare the effect. Wrong response. Question: why did you miss this deadline? Answer: well, I was busy with other tasks, and the client called me last minute. This sounds nervous, weak, apologetic. Right response: you pause, breathe, then calmly say, I chose to prioritize the urgent client request because it had direct financial impact. The deadline delay was calculated, not careless. The pause made your words hit harder. The effect? Authority and confidence. Silence is also an antidote to manipulation. In sales calls, in politics, even in friendships, people use words to push you, corner you, rush you. This deal is only available today. Everyone else already agreed. If you really cared, you'd say yes now. The weak response is to rush back with explanations. I just need more time, I'm not sure. That's exactly what they want. Your anxiety spilling out. The strong move is silence. Don't bite. Look at them. Wait. Let their manipulation echo into emptiness. They will start to backpedal, soften their tone, offer you more. The effect? Their control collapses. Silence also builds intrigue. Imagine in dating or social interactions. If someone asks, "So, what do you do?" The ordinary person rattles off their resume. But the strategic person answers with less. I work in a field that keeps me busy. Then they go silent. The other person leans forward, curious. They chase you for details. You flip the script. Instead of seeking their attention, you've made them seek yours. That is silence creating magnetic pull. In all of these examples, the lesson is the same. Silence creates space. Space for others to reveal themselves. Space for you to gather power. Space for your words, when they finally arrive, to land like thunder after a long, still sky. But use silence wrongly, and you look weak, passive, unsure. The art is in control, choosing silence, not defaulting into it. Lao Tzu understood this paradox deeply. By speaking less, you say more. By withholding, you command. By being comfortable in silence, you gain dominance in a world terrified of it. The ancient sage whispers through time. Those who know do not speak. those who speak do not know. In our world of constant noise, learning to master silence is not just wise, it is revolutionary. Pause for a moment. Drop a comment sharing the time silence gave you the upper hand. Most people believe silence is about others, about what you withhold from the world. But the highest form of silence is not external, it is internal. Self-mastery begins with a discipline to still the noise inside your own mind. The chatter, the endless arguments with yourself, the rehearsed speeches, the what-ifs, the regrets, all of it forms a prison of sound. You think you are free, but you are shackled to the voice that never stops speaking. Lao Tzu warned, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." This was not only about speaking to others, it was about the inner dialogue that drowns out wisdom. To master silence is to master yourself. Consider the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius woke each morning with a mind full of duties, enemies, temptations. And yet, in his private notes, written never to be read, he constantly reminded himself to quiet his impulses, to pause before anger, before pride, before indulgence. His silence was not passive. It was active resistance against his own nature. In war, a general who panics gives orders too quickly. In business, an executive who reacts too fast makes costly mistakes. In life, a person who cannot sit in silence runs endlessly from one distraction to another. Scrolling, drinking, consuming, filling the void with anything that avoids the truth. But when you train yourself to embrace silence, you build endurance. You endure boredom. You endure uncertainty. You endure desire without obeying it. And in this endurance, you begin to see the shape of true power. Power over yourself. Think of the monk in his cell. To the outside world, he seems imprisoned. But within silence, he becomes vast. His mind expands. His discipline sharpens. His thoughts become a blade, cutting through illusions, cutting through fear, cutting through the endless need for approval. Silence is self-mastery because it is refusal. Refusal to be dragged by the current of your impulses. Refusal to react to every provocation. Refusal to explain yourself when explanation only weakens you. The advanced warrior, the strategist, the sage, all of them share this. They could act, but they wait. They could speak, but they hold their tongue. They could reveal, but they conceal. And because of this, they are feared, respected, untouchable. The man who masters silence masters time itself. He never rushes. He never fumbles. He never reveals his hand too soon. His enemies cannot predict him, and his allies never doubt him. He acts only when the silence has given him the perfect opening. This is why silence is more than a tactic. It is a way of being, a fortress you carry within you. And once you build this fortress, no one can invade it. To master silence is to master the self. To master the self is to master the world. If this lesson spoke to you, pass it on to someone who needs the reminder. Drop a comment with the moment you wish you had stayed silent, or the time your silence turned out to be your greatest move. And subscribe now, because more lessons are coming that will make you harder to provoke, harder to manipulate, and nearly impossible to defeat.